Hey, deserving listeners, 90 Day Fiancé. Let's see what happens.
Oh, you're still here? You're busy. I thought you left. Oh my God.
I mean, I have to go, but I just wanted to make sure you're okay. Like, I don't want to leave, like, with you mad.
Today is my last day with Josh in LA, and I'm feeling terrible. Because I really like Josh, and I just hoped that this trip would bring us closer. And I was hoping we would talk about his commitment, kids, us. None of that happened.
I don't know what's going on right now.
Josh, I come here, you sleep with me, and after you tell me, bye, okay?
Yeah, that's how she sees it. She doesn't decide to see it that way. That's what her traumas are telling her to see it as. But can you imagine being told something like that? That's what you think, Josh's like, wait, what? You think I had sex with you and I was just going to leave you? Like, I'm using you? Like, what? Did you just accuse me of? I thought we wanted, what is happening right now? So, but he tends to I can't tell if he has a huge wall up because he's done with her or if he is the Buddha who says bro, the Buddha bro. Let's see what he does here.
In LA, and I'm feeling terrible. Because I really like Josh, and I just hoped that this trip would bring us closer. And I was hoping we would talk about his commitment, kids, us. None of that happened.
I don't know what's going on right now.
Josh, I come here, you sleep with me, and after you tell me, bye, okay, go.
I have to go to...
Put all on the map. Oh, I'm in a different country, I don't have work,
He's like, I have to go to work. Yes, we did have sex, and I guess now I am saying goodbye because I have to go to work. So, all right, well, so she was in the bathroom, and she thought he left, but he didn't. She comes out, and I thought maybe she had been able to differentiate while she's in the bathroom, and it seemed like maybe she'd be able to recenter, but it looks like she's right back at it.
Still married. I do this for you, and you don't even have time for me.
Now, I want to be clear about something, that this behavior could be framed as abusive. She's attacking him and accusing him of things that don't make any sense, I think. We don't know. But this can be a version of abuse. If you've ever been the recipient of something like this can be terrifying. Even though there's no actual physical threat, right? She hasn't made a physical threat, but it can be terrifying. You don't know what she's going to do. If she's capable, if someone is that convinced of you doing a horrible thing, then sky's the limit in terms of, one, their perceptual distortions, right? It's like, am I going to be getting a call from the police tomorrow saying that I assaulted you in bed? Because if you're that delusional about what is happening right now, God knows what else. And that's not unheard of. It's not common, but it's not unheard of. The other thing you worry about is if you're capable of this amount of... We were having a great time, and I've been working real hard to put up with your attacks, and I have not retaliated, and I've been very calm, and I'm about to go to work, and I was being very nice, and you are now accusing me of all sorts of things. You're yelling at me. You're irate at me, you're being hostile. So you are seeing all this behavior and you're wondering, well, what else are you capable of? If you're capable of this, sky's the limit in terms of what you could do to me. If you're this, you feel so justified in attacking me right now. Are you going to get violent even though there's no actual threat of violence? This is a common thing that abusive people and some psychopaths will use, is they will do something kind of weird. Like, I had a family once with a kid who, what we call conduct disorder, but could have been developing psychopathy. I don't know. I wasn't with the family long enough, but the kid had some very concerning behaviors. And although the kid hadn't made any, from my memory, any direct threats to the parents, what the kid would do, and he was very hostile and very angry at the parents. He unfortunately was adopted into the family and had been through a rough early childhood. And so I was asked to come into the home to try to salvage the adoption. Anyway, this was after years and years of them struggling. But one of the things that the kid would do, so during the day, the kid was very hostile, very mean, but never really threatening overtly to the parents. And then in the middle of the night, or well, more specifically, the parents would wake up the next day, and they'd be walking around the house, and they would notice things would have been moved. Like a light bulb would be on the floor, and their door would be different, or a chair would be in front of their door, or things would be moved in their bedroom, meaning that he was in their bedroom moving stuff around, right? So it's not a direct threat, but if someone is capable of that, God knows what else they're capable of. And it also shows that he's doing things while you're unconscious, while you're asleep, right? So just imagine how terrifying that would be, even though there's no real threat. And the parents were terrified, justifiably so. So in a similar vein, when someone does something like this, you're just like, what is happening? And how is this happening? There's an implication there, and you can be really afraid. Now, I don't know if Josh is in that situation, but if you've been the recipient of this, it can become quite victimizing. It's not just something like, whoa, look how weird that it can be really scary, really scary.
Go.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
I'm sorry that you feel this way.
It will not help.
Okay. I care for you.
This will not work with me.
I'm gonna give you some time to cool off.
Oh, please.
Okay.
Bye.
I'll text you later if you don't block me. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to watch. She is clearly suffering, and she's the one in the end that is going to suffer from this. He'll bounce back, I think. She probably won't. If she convinces herself of the narrative that she's convincing herself of right now, this will make it even harder for her to trust in the future, which is kind of the real tragedy here. Because I don't think things would have worked with Josh. They don't usually, not that they were doomed, but most dating relationships, long distance, it doesn't usually work out. It's fine. But she's the one down the line that is looking for attachment and companionship. And if she has even more reasons to be suspicious, then that doesn't bode well for her. And I don't think the next guy she's going to date is going to have as much calm behavior as he was super cool to her. I wonder if so when you work in a group home for teenagers who you might have a third of the kids that will act like Natalie, and you get good at being able to react. I actually had to learn the hard way. When I was training to become a therapist, I worked in one of these group homes for kids, and it's primarily teenage girls that were very troubled and for one reason or another were forced to live in this therapeutic group home. And I'm this young, 23, 24-year-old guy I don't know what to do, and I'm not very assertive. And I had this boss. It's funny because she seemed so old to me at the time, but she was probably like 28 or something. And she knew exactly how to handle things with the teenage people, and I did not. And so I really depended on her. But then this one time she wasn't there. It was late at night, sort of the night shift, and one of the girls decided she was going to attack me, and she just laid into me. And I was trying to deal with it. I was trying to cope with it, but she got under my skin, and I just started crying. And I didn't cry much back then. I cry a lot now, but not so much then. And so at that moment and on the drive home from my shift, I was just like, something's got to change here, because if I can't handle this, then I'm going to crumble emotionally. And so I made a choice in that moment to be emotionally available and to be real and authentic, but to have some professional protection, if you will. Not distance, not rejection, not coldness, but a professionalism to it when I'm working. And he acts like that. He has that professionalism, that diplomacy of like, well, rewind, keep that in mind. So imagine, just for the sake of hypotheticals, she's a teenage girl and one of the workers is there, that one I looked up to that could handle everyone really well, is having a verbal altercation, and the worker is able to not get entangled, but to, be diplomatic and kind. So let's rewind that and keep that in mind and tell me if you see what I see.
No.
Josh, I come here, you sleep with me, and after you tell me, bye! Okay, go!
I have to go to
put all on the map. Oh, I'm in a different country. I don't have work. I'm still married. I do the for you, and you don't even have time for me.
I mean, just chiming in here, imagine being accused of that it's all his fault that she's traveled from a different country and she doesn't have a job. Like, we just met 3 days ago, so well, how is this my fault? We've been on a few how is this my fault?
Go.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
I'm sorry that you feel this way.
It will not help.
Okay. I care for you.
This will not work with me.
I'm gonna give you some time to cool off.
Oh, please.
Okay.
Bye.
I'll text you later if you don't block me. Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly the tone and what you say. You just be, I would imagine if, my supervisor, she would say things like this. She'd be like, okay, well, if you don't hate, in that context, it's like, well, okay, I'll be in the office if you want to talk, F you, da, 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 da. And she, okay, well, I hear you. And, I'll let you cool off. And if you still want to talk, I'll be in the office. Yeah, F you. Okay, well, I hope things are okay. And you just keep saying those things, right? And he's doing that. I wonder if he has a previous job. Was he my previous supervisor?
Oh, boy.
All right, so now that he's not an aggravating presence to her traumas, she will probably decompensate. Similar to what I don't know, I hope she doesn't honestly, but I think that would make sense that would happen. Similar to one of those very first episodes that I watched with her when they were in Ukraine and she had that morning, maybe it's mornings for her, that Mike and her mom were sitting around the table and she just started laying into Mike about, let's have kids right away. And Mike was like, yeah, absolutely. I want to have kids. And Nat's like, well, now, let's start getting pregnant. If I remember right, or something like that. And Mike's like, well, let's give it a little bit of time. And then boom, that triggered her. Mike was this horrible person and she was being hostile and she goes upstairs and she's in a fetal position on the bed crying and crying. So I think that's going to happen again right now.
Honestly, I'm at a loss for words. She knew going into this week, this was my deadline time. No matter what happened, this is my time. I have to go to work. Imagine,
All right, well, that is even more reason. But he certainly doesn't have to drop everything for her. He certainly was there. She could do other things with her time, right? But he's even specifically saying, look, there's a big thing happening at work. It's a deadline time. I can't avoid it, right? I can't take a vacation day. And he's saying, I told her before she even arrived. He was careful to be, it's like, okay, well, you're coming, just to let you know, it's kind of a deadline. I have to work. And she probably said something like, no problem, right?
How my kids feel when I have to go to work all the time. They understand it and they're 5.
Yes, because they did not have the commensurate relational traumas that accompanies that kind of paranoia, transference, hostility, attachment, insecurity. 5-year-olds, because they have been fulfilled in terms of their attachment security prior to that, it's not just an inherent aspect of being 5. It's because they were given enough secure attachment up until that point such that they can handle their father going to work when at that stage. They have a harder time when they're younger, right? When they're 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, they might have a hard time if you go to work. But even then, if you give an 18-month-old enough security up until 18 months, a lot of times they'll be able to manage, especially if they have someone else that they can attach to in the meantime. So yeah, he's observing something that is critical to the situation. So I wonder how he's going to handle this. I'm pretty sure things aren't going to be able to be sustained, right? Because he has to go back and is he going to continue to be in a relationship with her?
I think she wants me to be like this normal guy that is just like running after her. And, you know, like I'm not 15 years old. Like I can't just be running after people all the time. I have things that I have to do.
Yeah, that's not how I would put it. This normal guy, because I don't think anyone is even capable of doing. Because I would imagine that even if he did stick around, she would find something else to latch onto to justify the way that it feels to her. Because I think she has to fly back to Florida, and I think that's the main trigger for her, that she has to separate, and that pain and that worry is overwhelming to her, and she just latches on to anything to make the feeling make sense. So I don't think if a normal guy who, for example, didn't have a high pressure job or something were even to chase after her, I still don't think that would have soothed her.
Listen, he could buy me ticket now and say come with me. Couldn't he? He has plenty of millions of beautiful girls who travel with him. I don't understand.
I feel like I don't understand the context of what she's talking about. She's referencing him traveling with work. I guess another trigger for her is that, according to her, Natalie, Josh works with beautiful women, so that would, and she's been challenged by that in the past, so maybe that's another aggravating factor.
For me, sex is serious. If I sleep with him, it means I consider him as the father of my kids. I would never be involved with him.
Yeah, actually, this is going to be hard for me to watch because I think she's on the precipice. I think she's already melting down, actually. This is, it's anxiety provoking, is it not? She's not doing it on purpose, but this is like a serious potential psychiatric episode right now. And I'm concerned for her safety, really. People do rash, impulsive things in this state. I assume that didn't happen because they wouldn't be showing us this footage, but this is real.
Go to bed if I didn't consider him as my man and father of my kids. Why would I do it to myself? He uses me. Piece of
I care for her. I do, even though I don't know what's going on with her. I still care for her. And I mean, I'm going to check up on her, make sure she's okay. Whether or not she accepts that, I don't know. Now, I have a flight to catch, and if I miss it, it's going to be absolutely terrible.
Yeah, if you've ever been involved with someone like Natalie, you have been in his shoes. Even particularly at this moment where you're like, if I don't go right now to work or to this flight or to this thing, like it'll be really bad for me. And so I'm stuck. I can go and do my thing that I feel like I should be able to do. But if I do that, some really terrible things are going to happen over here with Natalie. So what do I do? And it's a really, really difficult situation to be in. And it does potentially head into abusive territory. What did he do? If you just look at the facts, as I think it is, he did nothing. They dated for 3 days. She was hostile to him frequently and pouting frequently with him. But then they had some nice moments. She wanted to have sex with him. They had sex, according to her. And then they wake up the next day and he's going to leave, something he had told her about prior. Again, I think she's leaving today too. I don't know, or soon. And then she just does this whole thing, which doesn't make any sense. There's zero sense to any of it, that it's seemingly what's happening. And she's escalating, she's accusing, she's angry, she's hostile. She's starting to accuse him of essentially assaulting her in bed and using her and being a psychopath. And you know, just imagine how scary that would be, of just like, and imagine if you weren't on a reality TV show and you didn't have the cameras there. So, you know, because that's what normally happens. Imagine you're him and there's no cameras and no one else is there to witness it. And there's no one to corroborate your side of the story. And she goes to Twitter or her friends or the police. That's terrifying. And I'm going to call it abusive because, you know, if you're a Josh situation, if you're in his shoes, You either have to endure the attack and the abuse or give in and go back to her and say, please, please, I love you. Please don't do that. I'm here. I'll quit my job. Like, that's the conundrum you're under. Now, Josh seems to be handling it pretty well, but make no joke about it. This is a serious situation. All right, well, that was that episode. And everyone out there, please take care of yourself, really, because you deserve it. You really do.